The Star Wars galaxy is getting worse. Not in a big way for now, but this change could have huge ramifications for the future. And what will actually happen in Season 4 of The Mandalorian? Welcome to Star Wars Uplink, your place for everything Star Wars gaming, the TV shows, and the movies. Let's jump in.
Just you reconsider playing that message for him.
Dave Filoni has gone on a rampage. He has taken the role of Chief Creative Officer of Star Wars and has just gone off the rails of the crazy train.
The power has gone to his head.
Yes, in a very short amount of time, really, considering we just got the news. And we had a video that was diving deep into what did it mean for Star Wars? What does it mean for Star Wars in terms of Andor type content? Are we only going to see Ahsoka now, or will we get more stuff like Andor again? And I think that was an interesting topic, and I think this might lead things the wrong way, which is unfortunate. What the heck am I talking about? Well, Dave Filoni, in his rampage of content and interviews, he said this, quote, "The idea that she's not incredibly adept at wielding the Force, I think, is a strong thing. It's amazing how fans in the Star Wars franchise have evolved. There are all these thoughts and opinions and groups. You can find different camps on how they think everything works, but very fundamentally, if you pay attention to the films George made, you understand that the Force is an energy field created by all living things." And then he goes on to say, basically, if you think about the Force like yoga, and while I may do yoga, it does take some effort sometimes to do yoga, while other people are even better at it and can take it on so much quicker and so much better than I can, but I can still do yoga.
He literally compared the Force to yoga.
Yes.
What? Wow.
This, I think, is bad news for Star Wars, and I want to open it up with, first, what does this mean for the Jedi? Because the whole part of the Skywalker saga, yes, I understand what he's saying is there's the idea of the Force, and it's within everyone, and that was a big part of the Force, but I don't think he's getting the point of it, which is, yes, we all have Force around us, penetrating us, binding us together. It's something that we all are a part of. But why are there Jedi then if anyone can just use the Force? If everyone can wake up in the morning and do yoga.
My question is, why are there holocrons? If everyone could be a Jedi.
Yeah, seriously, why are they specifically going out? Why don't they just take random people off the street and make Jedi out of them?
Yeah, why don't they actually just take the orphans that don't have homes instead of stealing children from their parents?
Yeah, exactly. What's the point of the Jedi Order if everyone can be a Jedi? And I don't mean that facetiously. I think this is a good question to ask, and I do wonder if it is going a little too far in the direction of, like, you can be anything you want when you grow up. And I would subscribe to that, but also you need to look at, like, what your strengths are. Yes, you might be good at anything, but that also kind of hurts you at the same point, because you're going to be multiple things when you grow up, and you can be anything, but also what do you enjoy most? And maybe that's kind of what he's going for, if you want to be a Jedi, you can be, and I think that's interesting. But also it hurts so much because I feel like it takes away so much of the specialness of people. Like when anyone's super, no one's super almost. Because if you look at Sabine, what makes Sabine awesome isn't that she can use the Force. It's that she's a Mandalorian. And she has a very interesting upbringing with so much depth and structure there, and almost takes away from her character when she can be a Jedi Force user. Yeah,
I was going to mention Sabine because that's our biggest clue into what Dave Filoni's thinking right now, as far as, like, anyone could be a Jedi. I actually think that her story is very compelling. Like, I think it's very interesting to see more of the warrior Jedi than a Force user Jedi.
Yeah, but they didn't
but they're
do
not
any of that.
Really doing either. So it's going to be interesting.
It's the whole J.J. Abrams thing where it's like, yeah, you never know what's in this box. Yes, but also people want to know what's in the box.
Yeah,
like
at some point you gotta know.
There's the Hitchcock quote of, if you introduce a weapon in the first act, it needs to be fired by the third act. And I feel like that's what we're trained on in stories. And if you set up a character like Sabine who has this rich backdrop, and you make a single reference in the entirety of the Ahsoka show of like, hey, let's do things your way, Sabine, because my way is a little bit different, and then you drop it entirely and don't do anything with it going forward? I don't know, man. It just kind of makes me wonder what the future of Star Wars is going to be if this is the entry point that we're already getting to.
Yeah. I wasn't saying that like the storytelling is good.
The idea is there.
The idea is there, and the idea is interesting that we can have such a weak person in the Force still become a Jedi. That's still very interesting, and it's nice that it's not being shown that like she's just going around being like, hey, you could be a Jedi, and you could be a Jedi, and you could be
you too.
We're not operating Jedi-ness right now. So that's good. But yeah, it does make me think about was it the second of the sequels?
Oh, The Last Jedi?
Yeah, where we see that little moment of the kid grabbing the broom.
Yeah, Broom Kid.
Yeah, Broom Kid.
At the end, you have like, oh, sweet. There's this random person in the galaxy that is utilizing the Force without knowledge of the Jedi, really, and using it as an own specific way.
I almost wonder if that was like the keystone to all of this, where it's like,
he saw that and missed the point.
It's a random person. Oh my goodness! Like,
see, that kid's got Jedi powers. Anyone can,
but that
Sabine
would be interesting if we're gonna go up against Force users that have no training in like the Jedi. What if they just create their own sect and they're like, yo, we don't like what you're doing, you know? Like, that would be really interesting.
I think there are interesting pieces to this. Like, what if Sabine goes up against someone who's actually trained in the Force and has good skills in the Force? Like, if she goes up against Ahsoka, obviously Ahsoka should be more powerful than her because yes, she can utilize the Force, but I don't think she should ever be to the level of someone who is actually gifted with the Force, like someone who would have been on a holocron that would have been chosen from their family.
Right.
I don't think that they should do that, but this interview makes me think that that's exactly what they're going to be leading her to. Is like her growth as a character is purely going to be from her Jedi abilities. It's not going to be her internal growth as a character, really dealing with the troubles of her past and the struggles of the Mandalorian and her instincts to go into war blindly, hot-headedly. That's going to be swept away, and it's all going to be like, let's make sure you're super powerful and you can wield the Force that you can barely wield now.
Yeah.
And that scares me because I feel like that misses the whole point of the thing. I made this really long thread on Twitter on politics and movies and how good stories are always political. If you look at them from any story, no matter what, is political. Good stories have a foundation of intricacies and people and struggles and growth, and that is ideally what you want in like a political kind of thing of like, let's make a statement on the state of the world and what's going on. But I feel like so much of content now is content. It's not let's have a film. It's like let's have a piece of content and tick all the boxes that we should be doing. And I fear that Star Wars is going to go away from Andor and go to Ahsoka, where it doesn't really it tries to say something, but it actually has nothing to say. It's like it's your friend who's says he's into like philosophy, but he's only read like 2 things and constantly quotes those 2 things in philosophy.
Yeah.
Just to seem mysterious and moody and emo.
Yeah. It's almost a vibe more than it is a story.
Yeah.
It's concerning. I mean, this idea that anyone can be a Jedi, again, it does mean that no one is. Like, when everyone's special, no one's special. So what's the point? What would be the point of telling this way?
I feel like he's trying to do the everyone is like you each have unique abilities and that you can use to be successful in the world, and we need everyone to have these unique abilities. That's a great message, but I feel so often it's boiled down to everyone's special. And instead of actually like, let's find what makes you special. What is your superpower and how can we empower you to have this ability in the world? It's the first step, but there's never any future steps.
Well, it's the future step is, but here's this box that everyone likes to see. So we're going to take all your specialness and we're actually going to shove it in this box because that's what everyone wants to see.
Because like if you open that doorway, Boba Fett can be a Jedi. Why would you do that? Din Djarin can totally be a Jedi. Except the whole story is around how he's not a Jedi. And if now anyone can be a Jedi, what's the point? And maybe that's the whole idea, is that he's trying to basically disillusion the Force, like disillusion this idea that it has to be in the structure, that everyone can utilize it in their own ways in pieces. That could be interesting, but I don't think they can tell subtle enough stories to actually end on that promise.
Yeah.
What does that mean for Thrawn? Like his specialness is as a character is he's like Force agnostic. Darth Vader tries to read him, but he just like subverts the Force. And if that's the case, what's going on there?
It's kind of amazing how quickly he got swept up, he being Dave Filoni, got swept up in this idea of we're all just a part of the Force sort of thing. It's like, no. I mean, yes, but we can all agree that that makes some sense in that, yes, it's all over. It's everywhere, but it doesn't make sense for everyone to be able to use it effectively.
Honestly, I think another good point to this is the idea that anyone can survive a stab from a lightsaber.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Which is now common knowledge. Screw freaking Qui-Gon's death.
Yeah.
Let's just have not one in terms of, Sabine getting stabbed right where, Qui-Gon Jinn would have. But also the Grand Inquisitor did the same thing. Reva as well got stabbed in the gut and then just perfectly walked it off like there's no deal at all.
Yep.
I just don't understand what the point is for that. Like, why? I just ask the question, why are you making this decision to these characters, like in this world? Like, what's the ultimate goal here? And maybe we just don't know yet, and it's going to be awesome and they know exactly what they're doing. But when you just say anyone can be a Jedi
and anyone can survive a lightsaber stab,
it kind of takes away the importance of death and the Jedi.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's what he's trying to do, but I don't think they're able to tell those kinds of stories on the big screen. And Dave Filoni shows very well that he has no regard for any of the extended universe, because he constantly messes with the story of Ahsoka that was built up in the books and all of the other side stuff, and just has a very well documented history of just disregarding the extended universe. So, friend of the podcast, Eric Eilerson, who is part of the team over at Utini, I think he had a really good take on this. It says, so, like, everyone is part of the Force? Sure, of course. But if anyone can be a Jedi with training, then why are the Jedi only taking certain kids? What does Force sensitive mean? Is this just like a weird privilege thing? There's so many things. Like he said, yes, you're in on this. It's perfectly great. Anyone can be a Jedi. This opens up my fantasies of, this person could be a Jedi. But I do wonder, like, why are they making this decision, and what is their end goal with taking away this idea that we've experienced with Force sensitivity? And yes, you can have a very varied scale of Force sensitivity, as we've seen. Some people are more adept at it and just take to it really well. Other people take a little bit more training too. But when you look at it and you have Hu Yang saying, you are the least sensitive person to the Force I have ever trained in my over 1,000 years, and you make them able to scoot someone across a football field gap, I do wonder why you're saying this when it's clear that you just use it to progress the plot rather than move the story forward.
Or grow the character.
Yeah, rather than sit with her actions and her struggles. Honestly, I would connect to someone way more who tries and tries and tries and never reaches that goal, but is constantly there looking and honing their skills. And maybe the end goal is not the ultimate thing, but it's the efforts that they're putting towards learning it that expands all of the other goals. I think that's more impactful.
Yeah. It's a strange choice. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm confused as to what the story that they're trying to tell is.
Yeah.
This is an odd piece to be throwing in now.
Again, why? And I don't think they know, which is unfortunate. Going on that little plot point, what else don't we know? Well, we don't know a whole lot about the future of The Mandalorian. While we had season 3 that set up the idea of The Mandalorian being a bigger moniker, like it being representative of not just Din Djarin, but people like Sabine, people like Bo-Katan, and the different cults and different sects of the Mandalorians. That was the idea of season 3. And I do wonder what they're going to do going forward with season 4. We know Jon Favreau has reportedly already finished it. Apparently he finished writing it soon after season 3 was done. And I wonder what stories they're going to tell. Are we going to go back to kind of the heart of the Mandalorian, which is Space Cowboy and his little friend Jedi sidekick dude?
Right.
Doing missions in the galaxy, or are they trying to utilize it to move forward the idea of the Mandoverse? And before we get into this, I personally think that The Mandalorian works best when it's trying to tell little goofy stories that represent more genre pieces than it does moving forward a bigger vision. So I feel like season 3, they tried too much to pack into 8 episodes.
I don't know if I would agree with that they tried to pack in too much, because it didn't.
There wasn't a lot there.
There wasn't a lot.
But they tried too many threads, I should say.
Yeah.
Because they didn't try to put too much into one story. They tried to put too many stories into one story.
Yeah, they didn't just tell one story, which would have been a lot more effective. Oh, gosh. So we leave Din Djarin and Grogu pretty much with them being accepted into this whole Mandalorian clan, yeah?
Yeah.
They are now a part of the Mandalorians.
They're a part of the Mandalorians. They have a plot of land, Navarro, and they've got their plot of land. They have the ability to have a home base in the galaxy. You have Bo-Katan going off with her own group of people. She has the Darksaber once again. The galaxy is in peace, and we end the season with the Mandalorian and Grogu sitting on their little plot of land as it zooms in on Grogu eating a frog.
Right.
That's where the season ends. So I wonder where we're headed. And I almost wonder, are they going to take some of the plot points? Because it was rumored that they took a lot of the plot points of the Rangers of the New Republic show and put it into season 3. So it almost makes me question of if season 4 is going to be what season 3 was supposed to be. Like this more continuation of what Din Djarin is set up to be, as he is now a protector of Navarro and possible contractor with the New Republic outposts.
They've definitely got to build up on that. But I can't imagine them not making sure that he's going out and about and going to different planets and stuff like that. I can't imagine a Mandalorian settled. So, and I would love to see them play with that struggle of him being like, I'm just supposed to stay here? How is this in my new life now? I could see him getting cabin fever and being like, no, we're heading out. Come on, let's go. Yeah. So I could see that.
I think that would be a compelling plot line, honestly. I think it would be interesting to see what it looks like for a Mandalorian who's raised on this idea of war and attacking and fetch quests and bounty hunting. What does it look like for him to settle down and now he has something to protect? Possibly maybe they work with Cobb Vanth. I think that could be interesting. Maybe it's with Boba Fett again, because we saw them kind of spark up a reinvigoration of their friendship after season 2 in Book of Boba Fett. Maybe it's some more of this, let's continue protecting this town against the oncoming threats now that they know that this is the home base for the Mandalorians. Maybe the warlords. I don't know. I do wonder if Giancarlo Esposito's character is going to come back in any way. Like, what does Gideon look like to come back?
Right.
Which I think would be better, because it was so pitiful what they did with him in season 3, because they set up this whole like plot line with clones, and it was very intriguing, and I think they had a lot there, and then they're like, nope, we need to kick him out because he survived. But if they do that again, it's like, why did they kill him off in the first place if they're going to bring him back again, even though he was the best part?
Regardless, they're going to need to set up a compelling bad guy. Because although it's pretty to watch Din fly around with pirates, they're going to die. They're going to get beaten. So who is the new bad guy?
I think that's a fair question.
Yeah, that's my question. I feel like we haven't really had a bad guy in a while.
It was Moff Gideon. And they didn't treat him like a bad guy. They did the Mandalorian season 2 thing, which I find was so frustrating, and kind of why I rank it a lot lower in my ranking than season 1 of The Mandalorian, where they have the Deus Ex Machina, where it's this unbeatable position that they've written themselves into, and they need this eucatastrophe, as J.R.R. Tolkien put it, of something randomly good happening that just saves the day. And I hope that they take a look back and say, hey, this is what worked with these previous seasons. This is what people connected with. And let's move forward. Because I feel like season 3 set up this idea that Din Djarin as the Mandalorian was going to be the force that united all the Mandalorians in a way of like finding and developing the idea of the mythosaur. And they didn't do anything with that. And Mandalore is in ruins. They haven't quite done anything with that either. Like, what's the point? And I feel like season 3 would have been almost better if it just didn't happen. And they waited to tell more of the cohesive story.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have a lot of opinions about the 3rd season of Mandalorian.
So weird.
Yeah, they made a lot of strange decisions. A lot of threads were left just kind of dangling. Maybe
that's what season 4 is all about, of like picking up at least 1 or 2 of those threads and pulling on a little bit more to see what you find.
I should hope so. But
I don't think any of the threads are deep enough.
Yeah. Are they even worth it now? I don't know. Everything seems okay. So nothing really seems like it needs to be figured out. Man, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to shake this up again.
Yeah.
Like they made it so settled. They just smoothed everything over.
They literally had him resting on his laurels, and they zoomed in and then went to black.
Yeah.
Like that was the end of the story.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a pretty solid end. And then they're just going to be like, hey, there's pirates now, and they've stolen Grogu. Now you have to go get Grogu again. It's like, I hope they don't do that.
I hope so.
But I could totally see that being the Kickstarter for the next season.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah. But let us know your thoughts on what we discussed today. What do you think of Dave Filoni's statements around the Force? Is this the new idea that anyone can be a Jedi and this is great? Or is it that, like, what's the point if anyone can be a Jedi? I think those are the 2 takes that you can have where you just be like, well, whatever. It's probably not going to go anywhere. Honestly, that might be the case.
Yeah.
And what do you think is going to happen for Mando Season 4? Let us know in the comments below. Check out the podcast wherever you find podcasts. As always, thank you for listening, and may the Force be with you.